David Samuels, a.k.a. Diz, and this is The Force Always.
Okay, so welcome to the Star Wars news for this time around. So later on in the show, I have the Bad Batch review for the Episode 1, Season 1 on Disney Plus. That's later on in the show in the review section, so stick around for that. That's later on in the show. But let's get on to more Star Wars news, and that is sort of part of Star Wars news. The Bad Batch is now debuted on Disney Plus, the streaming service. It will apparently it was on May the 4th, and I should say May the 4th be with you. But May the 4th was the opening episode. But apparently every Friday, it's going to be on every Friday, not every Tuesday or Wednesday. Depends on what part of the world you're in. So we could be getting another episode this Friday. I'm unsure. But the Bad Batch is now playing. It's an animation series that is connected to the Clone Wars animation series. Anyway, so to more news. Speaking of Disney Plus, speaking of May the 4th be with you, they also released a Simpsons sort of 3-minute sort of, I would say, insert on the network. It's, it's well just to see it. It's not really much. It's nothing that brings the emotions. It's just sort of there. But, check it out. Thankfully they've done something to celebrate Star Wars again. The other one, people have been celebrated within Star Wars in Simpsons. The Simpsons cartoon series, which is actually available on Disney Plus, was Mark Hamill being Luke Skywalker. That was many, I think, decades now. But, so check it out. It's called Force Awakens After Having a Nap or something like that. It's Maggie Simpson. It's a little one. It's probably a little bit annoying that it didn't really, have greatness in it. But, it's Star Wars. Check it out. I own a copy of Thumb Wars, which is a spoof on Star Wars. Get that one. Anyway, so that's... and also, moving on to more news, Sideshow, which is a brand that sort of does, hot toys, which is like figures that have immaculate detail to characters that we know in the movies, whether it's Marvel, DC, even Star Wars. They've got a May the 4th special on there, so check it out. So check out Sideshow, I think it's .com, sideshow.com. You can get life-size figures and things like that of certain characters within all the genres, Marvel, DC, and Star Wars, but this being a Star Wars show. So you can check that out. Sideshow, I'll tell you this, I've seen the actual displays at Star Wars Celebration. I've seen amazing. They're amazing. I mean, if you can, purchase one of these things, they are quite pricey. You can get them in sort of retailers here in Australia. I'm sure in America as well. But the retailer here that you can mainly get it from is Zing. You can find them in a lot of shopping centres. There's also a very iconic and old retailer here that you can get hot toys at, and it would be Sideshow as well, is Minotaur in Melbourne. It's a very old, dusty, but classic nerd shop. Let's put it that way. It's got everything in there, anything and everything in there. My goodness. But anyway, so that's another May the 4th sort of celebration by Sideshow. Check that one out. Anyway, that's the Star Wars news for this time around. Let's get into the views. Views is my story ideas that I have for Star Wars. It could be anything, but let's dive into something that's a bit more original for, in a way, sort of original. It is a sort of take on a movie out there already. Technically, as we know Star Wars, we have seen, a young boy Anakin, pristine, sort of happy, go from, sort of clean cut, slave way, and just go to the absolute dark side. It would be good to see something actually, a story in a trilogy, movie epic sort of sense, where it starts from the dark side and ends up to be pristine good. It's sort of like that with Anakin, because he turns to be good in the end. But we saw only a snippet of him turning to the good side at the end, technically. But I reckon sort of coming off sort of like a Joker movie, a movie like Joker, where he's pushed and pulled around and not treated like just a piece of crap and things like that, and then becoming powerful. But instead of being evilly powerful, being powerful in surviving against the odds and really making a difference in the galaxy. That would be something interesting, especially after the Rise of Skywalker episode 9. The decay of the galaxy at this stage, ships and guns and people and stormtroopers would be just scattered across the galaxy. So it's going to be quite a big mess, technically, and especially after all those, Imperial ships of the Empire re-emerge and become these, planet-destroying ships, starships, that is, that Emperor Palpatine, the clone Emperor Palpatine, had created. But I think the Sith army. But I think it would be good to see, amongst all this absolute garbaging space, someone coming from the ruins of, the dark side and the just hell of all this garbage, and then just rising above, being pristine, and just making a difference in the galaxy. I know it's sort of a bit typical from Star Wars to be making a difference and the good wins in the end, but it's coming from the, against the odds. Like, have the story really against the odds. Somebody or something that looks like it would never succeed, and in the end just be all powerful, but for the good reasons. That's just a basic story idea, but I'd love to see that. I've got many ideas of who you can be, but that would be for another time. But that's my story idea for this time. Let's get now into reviews. Reviews this week is on The Bad Batch, which is an animation series connected to the Clone Wars, which is another animation series by Dave Filoni. And it sort of does take off from what we saw the Clone Wars finish last year into this series called The Bad Batch. We have been introduced to The Bad Batch. It's basically, five elite stormtroopers with a sort of rebellious look and sort of feel to their characters, really against the bad doers and the good doers. They're just their own sort of thing. They do fight for good. But look, just straight off the bat, Season 1, Episode 1 gets an 8 out of 10 for me. It was great. It was seriously long, which is even great, but when you don't have a whole lot of time for it, for things in life, it becomes a little bit of a stretch. I had to watch this in parts, but great that it was an hour 14. Great that it was a well-paced episode. It had its action, it had its sort of dialogue, it had characters we knew, characters we don't know, connecting to a part of Star Wars that is really interesting, which is Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Sort of at that time, after that time period. I'm looking forward to more of these episodes. I wasn't in the initial beginning looking forward to The Bad Batch, but I really am on board. It's fantastic. Probably the highlight to this was the introduction, how they went from Clone Wars into The Bad Batch, the sort of intro titles. I didn't like the dialogue, the introduction by voice, and welcome to the galaxy. This is like that. I just thought it's just a bit overdone. Okay, we're over it. We don't need that. It just doesn't really suit the Star Wars thing. But the actual look of the scenes, the look of the characters, and especially if you look, the foreground, midground, and foreground or background, the focus within animation, like the being focused and unfocused, and the depth of field and the colors and the actual lighting, it's amazing. It's almost real, but it is animation. It's just almost real. It's amazing. So 8 out of 10 for Episode 1. I will be giving a review of this weekly. We don't know how long the season is, as far as I know at the moment. Hopefully we're going to get another one this Friday. If not, it will be the Friday after. But they've said Fridays will be the one for The Bad Batch. So check it out, Disney Plus. Anyway, that's my review for this time around. Let's get into interviews. Interviews is 2 questions I ask myself for you guys out there. And the first question is, what can Star Wars actually learn from this Star Wars animation series? I think they can learn the pacing, the look, the menacing, the psychology in this particular episode was really good. At times it was a bit childish, but that's what really gets Star Wars intrigued. I think in the storylines is psychology. I mean, if you're going to take it back, the psychology from Anakin into Darth Vader, the psychology of Palpatine into the Emperor, the psychology of a bounty hunter, like Boba Fett. We saw him, from the starts of evil into becoming just a man made for himself. The psychology is just what Star Wars can learn to keep pushing, but really interesting, creative things. Not just wanting to be a Sith Lord or wanting to be I want to be the most powerful person just something that is intriguing, that connects to what we experience here on planet Earth without being about planet Earth. Again, the psychology of a racial tension, unfortunately, it's not the best in reality, but it's a very interesting way how it works out, and that would be a great story thing for Star Wars. But anyway, so they can actually learn, so Star Wars can actually learn a lot of the psychology that was being used and told in story form and even visual form in The Bad Batch. Anyway, that's the first question. The second question, what can Star Wars not learn from Star Wars, from The Bad Batch? I think they can not keep doing bad voiceovers at the start. Well, not bad, the type of voiceover. It's a very cheesy thing that is just, it didn't really work for me then, it didn't work for me now, but just keep away from that. Besides that, from what I can tell, and also I think the only other sort of point that I would make is I found that the opening Jedi Master and Padawan, and I can't remember the names as per usual, they were sort of traditional, but they didn't have a lot to them in being unique. Maybe that was deliberate. I just thought it was a little bit childish-like, the approach to, especially the Padawan. I just thought they can steer away from this sort of real, sort of childish storytelling or character-driven ideals. But anyway, that's what they cannot learn. Anyway, that's the episode for this week. You can contact me via Twitter down there, Instagram, YouTube, whatever you like. I'm here technically on a weekly basis, unless, I get bad things happen to me, or lots of things happen to me at once, as I did a couple weeks ago. I'm not going to go through it again. But I am here, The Force Always, and only on YouTube. And until next week, keep rocking.